All right, everyone. So my name is Lindsey Swanigan. This is my capstone project for Conway Public Schools. I recently, I worked for the Conway Public Schools for 2.5 years, and I recently left in December of 2024 to become an instructional coach for another educational entity. And so I just chose Conway Public Schools because that was the school that I last worked at as a teacher. Just a little bit about Conway Public Schools. So we have 9 elementary schools that feed into 4 middle schools that feeds into 1 junior high and 1 high school. So if you think of it, if you ever been to Conway, it's pretty big. So when I was at the junior high, we had about 1,700 students just in 8th and 9th grade only. And then at the high school, they had around 3,000 kids in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So a lot of kids at one school. So we're going to first talk about student enrollment and state foundational funding. So some of these, for all of my graphs, I put a graph and they have the data on some of them. And then the next slide has the actual numbers on there just for quick reference if you want to look at it in a table format or just in the graph. So a 3-year enrollment trend, we don't see a significant increase or decrease really from going from the last 3 school years. So I included 5 school years in there. So going from 19 to 20 to 23, 24. So down here, we started around 10,000 students, and then in the 23, 24 school year, we're at about 9,800. So small decrease, but not just a significant one, but they're still going to affect our funding. Projecting student enrollment, we see a decrease as well there from the 24-25 to the 28-29 school year. In the 28-29 school year, we're expected to have around 9,500 students. So yes, it's going to have a definite effect on our funding. Student enrollment and state foundational funding. So the total amount of state foundation funds generated for Conway in the 19-20 school year, we had about 37 million. And then in the 23-24 school year, we had about 39 million. In 2021, we've seen a jump there, which is around COVID, but it dropped a little bit. Now it's coming back up. So around 1920, it was around 6,899 per student. And now for the 23-24 school year, it's about 7,600 per student. Property tax assessments in the 98% URT. We see a positive increase going from the 21-22 school year to the 23-24 school year, starting at around 32 billion. 32 million, and then going up to around 36 million in the 23-24 school year. Our 5-year projection, which is, well, let's go back a little bit. We saw an increase in the trends for this, but our enrollment is going down. The 5-year projection for property tax assessments, we're seeing a significant increase here, starting around 1.5 billion, going up to about 1.9 billion. Property tax assessments and the 98% URT, just looking at all the data on one graph, you can see in the real, that's the most money that's there. Started out at around 1 billion in 21-22. Then we jumped up a little bit, and then we came back down in 23-24. For the personal, kind of a small steady increase. And then for the utility, it remained almost around the same. But it did increase just a little bit. District millage rate and revenue. So we just had a millage pass in May for 38.1, and that was a proposed increase of 3.3 mills by the next school year. Our M&Os was 25, our debt service was 13.1, and the dedicated millage was at 0. And these are the collection rates for 100%, 90%, 80%. You can look at those. Our 3-year trend for tax collection, we see a significant increase going from around 31 million for the 21-22 school year to around 35 million, almost 36 for the 23-24 school year. For our 5-year projection, starting in the 24-25, we're around 37, 38 million, going all the way up to around 46 million. So yes. State categorical funds and federal funds. So we're looking at the NSLA ESA. In 2021, 2022, we started around 3 million. And then we dropped down a little bit and then back to around the same for 23, 24. Those numbers have a discrepancy on there. Sorry. For 22, 21, 22 is about 28, and then it goes up to 3 million. How are these funds utilized in the Conway School District? It supports targeted initiatives that boost student learning outcomes. And why does it keep jumping? And nutritional services to support academic interventions as well. All right, so then we have PD. It's increasing over all 3 years by a few thousand. What do we use this for? For improving instructional quality and student learning, professional development. We know what that is. ALE, alternative learning environment. You can see that those are going up. I will say that when I worked in the junior high, we did see an increase of behaviors and students getting referred to ALE going up year after year. It supports students for needing non-traditional flexible learning settings, and Conway does use Arch Forward for their alternative learning environment, but it is housed for the secondary students at Conway Junior High. ELL, we see an increase of about 22,000 here from the 21-22 school year to the 23-24 school year. These funds addresses the needs of the English language learners and covers their bilingual teacher salaries, instructional materials, and any other language supports that they need in the classroom. Title I, we see our Title I funds are going down from the 21-22 to the 23-24 school year. Not as significant, but it's going down. This supports academic interventions, parent engagement programs, summer school, and additional instructional staff. Every year, Conway Public Schools says that they're not going to have summer school at the junior high, and every year they've had it anyway. So I don't know what that's all about, but yeah. Title IIA, we started around 391,000. We dropped down to 348,000 and then back up to 367. This fund is used for, I don't know why that keeps jumping. Let me put my mouse right here. Enhances teacher effectiveness and leadership capacities for PD. So we use it mostly for PD. Title IV-B, we see an increase of about 30,000 from the 21-22 to the 23-24 school year. This fund is basically for wraparound services and tutoring and any enrichment. I know this past year when I was teaching there, we did a lot of stuff during RTI for our gifted and talented students. And so we did use that money to fund like any other projects that we did with them, but that was only probably once a quarter. So this is all of the categorical funds and federal funds put on one graph and color coded. So you see that our highest numbers are for the ESA, NSLA, and then our smallest numbers is around for the ELL category. All right, and this is just, I put everything on there on how they're used, but we already talked about that. All right, operating budget balances. So this is for the fiscal year closeout balances for Fund 2000. And so you see a decrease from 11 million down to 10 million from the 22-23 to the 24-25 school year. And then I have those numbers there. And then for Fund 2001, we see a significant increase from about 8.7 million up to almost 11 million between those 3 school years. So did these amounts follow a general guideline of 10% carryover based on the operating budget? And yes, it did. All right, let's move on to building fund and food service. So looking at the Fund 3000, we see an increase about 8.7 going up to 10.9 million for Fund 3000. And then for the Fund 8000, we see an increase jumping from 22-23 to the 23-24 school year of about almost, I would say almost 500,000, and then a significant decrease about the same amount going from the 23 to the 24 school year. Excuse me. Building fund projection. So we see that for the food service fund, 8,000 for the projection, we see an increase going from 2.9 million to 4.4 million from the 25-26 to the 29-30 school year. Staff salary and benefit costs. There's been an increase from the 21-22 to the 23-24 school year, about 85 million starting out the 21-22 school year. And then for 23-24, we had about 91 million. All right, projection for all staff, increase here as well, going from about 94 million up to 106 million. So big increase there to end in the 28-29 school year. Capital outlay and or facilities expenses. So we didn't have any data for the 22-23 school year. So I know that kind of makes my graph look weird, but I didn't have any to put there. And so for the 23-24 school year, it was about 3.8 million. And then for the 24-25 school year, it was about 1.8. Is that right? Yes. All right. So according to Dr. Ashley, who is the person that I got my numbers from, Conway does not use Fund 5, which is capital outlay. He indicated that the district's annual expenditures in this area can be determined by looking at the beginning and ending balances for the building fund year-to-date page on the June financial report. And so he put on how you can find that number. So our construction projects that are coming up, we have a renovation of Bob Courtway Middle School. So that's one of the 4 middle schools that we have. It's going to be projected about 10 million over the course of 3 summers that they're going to get that done. And then there's a possible construction of a new elementary school. For the significant expenses, Dr. Ashley said that there weren't any beyond general construction and facility upgrades at this point for Conway Public Schools. Let's look at debt service. So we see an increase from 22 to the 23 school year to the 23-24 school year, going from about 9 million to about 11 million. And then it dropped down a little bit in the 24-25 school year. The purpose was this is the repayment of bonds from the high school built in 2013. So that was the newest school that was built was in 2013, which is kind of a long time ago considering, I mean, the school looks great, but that's been a while. So it's definitely time to start, redoing some of these schools. For our excess debt service, there was no data be obtained from Dr. Ashley. Remaining expenditures. So for the remaining funds is in the blue. So we see it at about 10.9 going up to 11 and then down to 10.2. And then for the target, it stayed, relatively the same. Classroom expenses. So according to Dr. Ashley, again, K-6 teachers were allocated the Teacher 500 funds, which is spent by mid-March. After that deadline, the funds are just absorbed into the principal's building budget and used by the end of the fiscal year. Once the funds are transferred back to the building, they're no longer tracked separately. So it kind of makes it hard to monitor how they're spent. We didn't have any data for the bus purchases because the transportation person was out when we were trying to collect this data, so we didn't have any for those. There are no major, or so for any major expenditures planned for budget, there are no major projects planned at this time. So we just recently had a resignation of our superintendent in just prior to July 1. So it was like maybe a month ago, maybe. So they're pausing any significant expenditures that may be, they have talked about in the previous year under consideration. So we're pausing all big spending for now until we get that figured out. So budget priorities. The current budget priorities reflect a strong focus on early literacy and special education services. They have emerged as a key focal point for heightened community awareness, increased advocacy for parents and stakeholders, and the district's commitment to meeting the diverse needs of all students, which is in their mission and vision statement. Um, we are allocating the resources to strengthen reading interventions, expand to evidence-based instructional materials, and enhance student support with disabilities. And this aligns with our community expectations and strategic planning for just having an equitable school for all learners of any income. Our major initiatives, um, particularly in technology and infrastructure. Adam Stroman, our technology supervisor, we are remodeling one of our campuses and implementing a comprehensive network overhaul. And that budget is around 200,000. So by end of the fiscal year, we plan to replace the server infrastructure, and that's going to cost almost 1 million. And part of the ongoing commitment to update staff with the technology we need, we're going to be deploying about 200 to 300 new laptops annually. And I will say that those laptops are needed because some of the ones that the teachers are using are really, really old. So they're trying to do all they can to make us tech savvy. So the recommendations and goals that I have. So 3 long-term goals: implement sustainable staff compensation models because we need to pay our teachers what they're worth. Upgrade and modernize aging facilities. Like I said, our last facility that was built new was the high school in 2013. And launch a comprehensive technology overhaul, which we're kind of starting that a little bit, but we want to do that over the whole school district. So just to dig in a little bit deeper, in my recommendation for that first long-term goal of implementing a sustainable staff compensation model, um, we're going to develop a long-term staffing and compensation plan that supports recruitment, retention, and equity. We have seen a lot of teacher turnover in a lot of schools. So um, hopefully we can get a compensation model so we can, keep teachers there for a long time. Personnel costs, anticipating changes in the state funding formulas and step increases, especially for special education, math, and science, because that directly impacts the quality, restriction, and student outcomes. The second one was upgrade and modernize aging facilities. A lot of our schools are really, really old. So this poses safety and instructional challenges when we're in these old buildings. And the school board should prioritize a long-range facilities plans that identifies the upgrades, outline cost projections, explores funding mechanisms such as capital campaigns, millage renewals, or bonds. So planning with urgency avoids all the emergency repairs that we have to deal with later that may cost us more money. And then a comprehensive technology overhaul. So this is just preparing our students and giving our teachers what they need in order to have a great quality of instruction for our students. So we're going to integrate technology in a daily instruction, and it's essential for ongoing replacement, maintenance, and support of devices and infrastructure. The board should adopt a multi-year technology refresh cycle and explore diversified funding, so grants, partnerships, and local support to make sure that students and staff have access to enhanced innovation and equity for our students. And that's all I have for my presentation. Thank you.